as I had predicted. What we have now, Saudi Arabia and Turkey have formed something called the Army of Conquest. They did this back in March, and they have coordinated ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And when I say Al-Qaeda, they call it Al-Nusra, but it's Al-Qaeda in Syria, so I'll refer to it as Al-Qaeda. They've coordinated them, and they've begun a drive against the Syrian government. Syria still holds most of the population centers, which is key. But at the same time, the terrorists were making clear headway. Now we have Russia, which has finally said, look, we've had it. We have watched this game play out long enough, and we're going to put forces in there, and we're going to get this thing moving. We're going to get it resolved. And I'm really, really pleased that the Russians are putting some people in there who are genuinely going to fight, because I'm not entirely certain which side the United States is on. I think sometimes we play one side, sometimes the other. You know, we set up a no-fly zone with Turkey. The Kurds had almost completely sealed off the Turkish border. Now, all of the terrorist supplies and jihadists come out of Turkey, in the north at least, and the Kurds had very nearly sealed it all off. And so we went in, we agreed with the Turks that we would have a no-fly zone, and that no-fly zone actually is designed to keep open the lines of supply from Turkey going into the ISIS capital of Raqqa. And the Turks made a big show. They said, oh, well, we're now part of the coalition against ISIS. They have launched 300 airstrikes, and only 1% have been against ISIS. All of the others have been launched against our Kurdish allies. And so clearly what Turkey is doing is they're opening a wedge so that the lines of supply will not be cut off to ISIS. And the United States, unfortunately, has been cooperating with them in doing this.
Able to do so?
Well, I won't speak to Obama in particular. I will tell you, beginning in 2011, Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, put into place a series of actions to overthrow the secular governments in the Middle East and to replace them with radical Islamic regimes. Why she was doing this, I know she has great connections, financial and otherwise, with Saudi Arabia, with Qatar, with Kuwait, with some of the tyrants of the Arab world. They tried to overthrow Egypt, and the Egyptian people rose up. 30 million people in the biggest demonstration in all human history took to the streets in Egypt, and they took back their country from the Muslim Brotherhood. The United States did succeed in destroying Libya. Libya no longer has a government. It's simply a land of chaos and disorder. But we attacked Libya with the express purpose of capturing their weapons, sending them into Turkey, and then Turkey, in turn, uses those weapons to arm jihadists to attack into Syria, which was a neutral, non-belligerent country, had never taken offensive action against any other nation. And so, yes, I think clearly the coalition against Syria is in utter, dramatic violation of the law of land warfare. Sunnis or anything against Shiites, but the United States has no business interjecting itself on the side of the most radical, demonic people on earth. Now, if you look at what happened in Mosul, this is very peculiar. This was very mysterious, where all of a sudden, all of the officers on cue abandoned their troops, and the troops were left there to be slaughtered. There were acres and acres, literally divisions, armored divisions, artillery divisions of American equipment the most modern equipment, and it was left there. The United States took no action to take it out, and we should have immediately gone after that. Immediately. I mean, this is something that this was a no-brainer. Destroy whatever you can before ISIS can get it out of there. Additionally, one of the peculiar things, and I don't know, I'm not an expert on this, but ISIS captured $500 million of cash in Mosul. I'm not confident that the banks in Mosul typically held on hand $500 million in cash. That's a lot of cash. Banks limit the amount of cash that they hold. I think there was money that was placed there. The arms were placed there. I think there were covert actions taken to cause the Iraqi army to disintegrate. And I think that was a means of supplying ISIS. And immediately they moved those weapons into Syria. And today, every major operation is led by American Humvees, American artillery, American armed vehicles. All of the supplies seem to come from the United States. We channel them sometimes through the Turkish MIT, the intelligence agency. Sometimes it's through the Qataris or the Saudis, but we're funneling weapons. You know, everybody says, well, we've got to stop this war in Syria. If you want to stop it, stop sending jihadists in there. The United States is training jihadist terrorists in Turkey, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, and we're training them to go in. Now, if they go in, we've spent the last 4.5 years trying to overthrow the government of Syria, trying to find a quisling, a puppet, who will do our bidding in Damascus. We haven't come up with a single name. The only recognizable name is al-Baghdadi, the greatest, the head of ISIS itself. We don't have a single leader among these so-called moderate rebels who have never really existed. They've always been just a propaganda ploy. This has been a war of al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood, and ISIS against the Syrian people. And you know, a year ago, there was an election held in Syria. It was a fair and open election. And President Assad won the election. And it's amazing, if you look back, we call him a dictator. I don't know what makes a dictator if he's elected by the people, if he's popularly elected. The Christian Science Monitor said that the election signals to Syrian and the world that Assad is not a dictator fighting for his life, but the elected leader of a country battling foreign-backed terrorists. This is the Christian Science Monitor, which is a very balanced publication. The New York Times said that the huge margin of victory by President Assad was entirely believable. The Washington Post said the election sent a powerful signal of Assad's control. How did he get this control? He got it from the people. 60% of the people are Sunni Muslims. The Sunni Muslims voted for him. The Alawites, the Christians. The people of Syria do not want to see a new leader. We know that if Assad leaves, that it'll be a signal that the Syrian government will disintegrate, and immediately then al-Qaeda will take over. The dread black and white flag of al-Qaeda will fly over Damascus. Within months, Lebanon will fall and Jordan will fall. And from that launching pad, ISIS will begin a historic drive against Europe. You can already see it with these refugees. They didn't come out of the blue. Turkey is forcing refugees into Europe as part of a civilization jihad, so that these people will be available to undermine Western civilization and to advance jihad. Remember, the Turkish president Erdogan has this dream of reconstituting the Ottoman Empire. And the Ottoman Empire has slaughtered Christians over and over and over 1,000 years. They